Howdy, barkeep. Send me a bottle of red eye. I want to tell these people a story.
Howdy folks, I'm Steve Payne. I'd like to tell you a story about Rattlesnake Jones. It's called The Terrible Tale of Rattlesnake Jones and Our Black-Hearted Pete. This is the story of Rattlesnake Jones. His blood was pure whiskey, lead shot filled his bones. The lies that he told were the worst ever heard, and his rancid breath stank like a coyote's turd. His best friends were Jim Beam and good old Jack D. When the good times were rolling, you'd sure find those three just singing and cussing and rolling the dice and getting the better of every damn vice. In bar rooms and back rooms, those two called the shots dropped Rattlesnake Jones into endless tight spots. Caught cheating at poker or stealing his liquor. If dumb needed doing, drunk Jones did it quicker. Now Rattlesnake Jones had a partner named Pete, the dodgiest scumbag a man could meet. He'd steal from a blind man, lie to a nun, told 10,000 tales of the dark deeds he'd done. His teeth were as black as the heart in his chest. He'd steal their last penny, then look for the rest. But Rattlesnake Jones thought that Pete was his mate,
And that's the mistake that would soon seal their fate.
Now Rattlesnake Jones had a secret desire. For a showgirl his looks set his trousers on fire. Though she wasn't the slimmest of girls he could love, Jones thought that this lard arse was sent from above. She danced every night in the gunslinger's arms, in a tight sexy outfit that showed off her charms. And each night he stood there and watched those high kickers
And prayed for the failure of Lily's tit niggers. Stoing, stoing, shaboy.
He longed to be near her and gaze in her eyes and rub his rough hands up her titanic thighs. But he hadn't the courage to make her his wife, and the pain pricked his heart like the tip of a knife. But black-hearted Pete wasn't shy in that way. Said he had a new girlfriend most every day. And even though Pete wasn't fond of the fatties, Big Lil's massive memories,
Fair boiled his tatties.
he'd had a good look, oh, but Pete wanted more. And he hated the sheriff, time to settle the score. He would bump off the sheriff and blame it on Jones. Oh, that Pete, he was evil right down to his bones. So, black-hearted Pete hatched a terrible plan to set up poor Jonesy and bury the man. His guns and his holsters, his boots and his hat, his horse and his saddle, he'd have all of that. Outdoing the sheriff, there's no time to linger. Let Jones take the blame after I point the finger. The sheriff will cop it and Jonesy will swing, and I'll give Big Lily a gold wedding ring. So all around town Pete went spreading the lie that Jonesy had told him the sheriff must die, and being black-hearted he weaseled and lied, and made a few bucks with a bet on the side. I'll wager the sheriff will cop it tomorrow, said black-hearted Pete with his head bowed in sorrow. And Rattlesnake told me it's going to be cruel.
He'll sure show that sheriff that he ain't no fool.
So early next morning Pete hid round the back of the sheriff's log cabin and planned his attack, and decided to strike when his quarry was sitting with his pants round his boot
In the outside bog shitting.
Pete sneaked up behind him, his hand to his nose. Something smelt really strong and it sure weren't a rose. And he sent him to heaven both startled and bitter, 'cause the last breath he drew in life
Stank of this shitter.
Good riddance to rubbish, he said with a sneer, secure in the knowledge that no one would hear. But there in the pasture, with sweat on his brow, a sad lonely farmer
Was shagging his cow.
Pete searched in his jacket. He had a cruel plan to blame it on Jonesy. He'd stitch up the man, so he laid on the cold ground a boot bound in black, with Rattlesnake Jones' name writ clear across the back. By midday the news of the killing had spread. The folks were appalled that the sheriff was dead. With a knife in his back they had found him right there, with his face in the dirt,
And his arse in the air.
A posse was sworn in, a lynch mob got milling, as poor frightened Rattlesnake's trousers were filling. Hauled up in the stable, accused of the killing, convinced that his lifeblood was soon to be spilling. Then, into the stable the angry mob bust, and beat up poor Rattlesnake there in the dust, and dragged him outside through the horse shit and straw, to kick him and cuss him and beat him some more. The next thing he knew, there was rope at his throat. His bodily fluids were forming a moat. The horse that was jumpy, the noose that was itching, and Rattlesnake's bumhole
Was sweating and twitching.
Then into the town square came Muck Spreader Mick, with his strange country ways and cow dung on his dick, with his favourite cow Maisie right there by his side, and a best Sunday bonnet with makeup applied. "Now hold up there, people," the cow shagger cried. "I can see for a fact that scoundrel Pete lied. 'Twere Rattlesnake Jones' hand that wielded the knife, and it was Pete, and I saw him
while shagging the wife."
The crowd fell to silence, aghast at the news. Some coughed out their ciggies or dropped pints of booze. Then all of a sudden they sent up a cry, "Find black-hearted Pete and we'll string him up high." The mob ran around to the gunslinger's arms where Pete was perusing Big Lil's ample charms, and they locked him up good in the cells for the night to chew on his crack nails and ponder his plight. Meanwhile in the town square, Jones sat feeling mad. He would have his revenge and it had to be bad. So he walked around looking and searched through the mob till he spotted the town mayor and asked for a job. Back in his jail cell, Pete's soul filled with dread. He was chained to the bars and he hadn't been fed. And he saw the new sheriff and he chilled to his bones, 'cause the new sheriff's name badge
said Rattlesnake Jones.
Jones unlocked the cell door and stepped in real quick. Pete clenched shut his mouth just in case he was sick. He longed for escape, but he hadn't a chance, as a massive big scorpion was shoved in his pants. Pete stared up at Jonesy. He was frozen with fear. His private parts shrank as a scorpion crawled near. Then he started up yelling. He really went crackers as a scorpion's poison
pumped into his knackers.
So Pete's black heart stopped then. That's too bad, well shucks. Jones married Big Lily and he made a few bucks by selling his story to the man on the street of Rattlesnake Jones and that black-hearted Pete. Thank you. The end. My name's been Steve Payne. If you enjoyed that, check out some of my stuff online. You can also check out my art at bruisedbrainartist.co.uk. There's some of it here. Thanks for listening. Bye.